Not one. Not one individual in the entire Department of Corrections prior to my release asked me how I was mentally, nor did they have a conversation with me about how my mental may be affected by my release. Yes, your mental health can be affected by your release from prison. This may be something nobody has ever heard or said to you, but I can tell you in an assured way through my experience and others that your release can have an impact on your mental health when for over a decade, 5 years, to whatever, your norm was prison and incarceration. Already in 3 days, less than 72, maybe a little bit more, I had faced a situation that was serious with my stepfather. Financial situations where it left us looking at a way of trying to figure out how we could pay our bills right when I got home. And already, my mental health, the stress, the anxiety, whatever it was impacted in such a way that I was already arguing and bickering with the woman that I love. The woman that married me while I was in visitation in the prison. You understand what I'm saying? She went in there, sacrificed, and here I was, the one person, the main person that would support me. She was a sounding board. Every time I was frustrated by something, I wouldn't communicate to her how I felt, I would communicate at her. That was a mistake. That wasn't good. And even 5 years later, I'd have to say that I'm ashamed. Should have done better in those moments of just saying I don't know how to cope. But there was a part of me that felt weak as a man. If I would have came to her and said, I just don't know how to do this. I don't know if I can. I don't know if I have the strength. I don't know how. So my responses were different in my times of frustration. It was me, just letting off hot air, verbally lashing out at times. It's not always what you say, it's how you say it that can cause a negative impact on people just as much. You don't have to drop F bombs or whatever. You can say something in such a way that they'll feel that way. And man, the lines were blurred when it became, time to identify who was there supporting me and who wasn't. I was frustrated by how the probation officer was moving towards me or at me, just saying, you need to get a job now. And mind you, I just went through so much and I was just calling my first day to report, and I was thinking that the conversation would have been more about resources, etc., support groups. Hey, you got until such and such, but it was all now, now, now. What are you doing now? And I would find out later that my probation officer simply didn't like me. Simply for whatever reason, because I never did anything that I can think of to go out of my way to cause that person to not like me or be negative towards me. But over time, things would occur, and I'll explain later. I did not know exactly how to respond to this thing called life. I just didn't. And I remember the opportunity came for I had my first job interview coming, and I was so excited, and I just knew this would be my opportunity to get the PO off my back. I was already stressed. I knew it would be the opportunity to go to my wife and say, look at me. I did it. I have a job. I can bring money into the house. Be proud of me. And I remember stressing over this job the night before the interview, watching a YouTube clip, because in my mind, I thought that watching that clip would allow me or teach me how to drive a forklift that fast. A reach truck, to be exact. It's just a little bit more of an advanced version of a forklift. I had taken a standard forklift class while I was incarcerated, but not a reach truck. And the next morning came, I was stressed out. I remember the sun wasn't even up, but that was the time we had to be there early in the morning for the interview, and we'd be given the opportunity to test drive the equipment. And I went in, I told my wife who drove me there, because even at this point with my license, I was not yet ready to drive. And I remember saying, I got this. She said, you got it, babe. I love you. I'll be here waiting. I went in to the interview. My anxiety was up. This was my first official job interview since coming home from 16 years, 11 months in prison. The thoughts that ran through my head were I was ill-equipped. I wasn't ready. All these guys have experience. They're not going to select me. Boom. I basically defeated myself before I even walked in. But this is what a lot of people that are coming home from incarceration feel in certain moments. And this is an illustration of that. I went in there and I was given the opportunity to get on the piece of equipment, the forklift, the reach truck, and wouldn't you know it, boom, crashed into one wall, crashed into another. He told me, hey, go ahead, get off. He was polite in saying we may still give you a call back, but I knew I had failed miserably. I walked out into that parking lot, my head held down. Coming home now in my eyes is nothing more than a convict with no experience and no way to find success in this world. And I had to get back in the car with my wife, and she looked smiling when I opened the door, just expecting good news. But I told her I didn't get it. And when I sat down in that car and closed the door, I broke down crying and sobbing like an infant, like a baby to my wife. It was much more than just feeling defeated and let down. I was overwhelmed. And for anybody that's coming home from incarceration, the support that's around, it's a blessing. But at least, at the very least, you just wish that somebody, not for the wrong reasons, but would actually understand what you were fighting through and what you came out of while trying to adjust. So yeah, that was a nervous breakdown moment, if you will. I sobbed, I cried, my wife had to console me, and then I just sucked it up. And I got ready to go back out there, go to the temp agencies, etc., and get ready for the second job interview if I could get one lined up. Because my probation officer made it adamantly clear. You are on the top. You're on a timer. You're on a clock. You need to get a job, employment, etc. now, or you're going to have issues with me. So that was the pressure. Less than 4 days in, after 16 years, 11 months of incarceration. It was it. Here we go.